It would be remarkably convenient for the historian, the psychologist suggested. One might travel back and verify the accepted account or the Biblio Hastings for instance. Don't you think you would attract attention? Said the medical man. Our ancestors had no great tolerance for anachronisms. One might jet tones Greek from Tiberius of Homer and Plato, the very young man thought. In which case they would certainly plow you for the little go. The German scholars have improved Greek so much. Then thrice the future said Herbie Youngman. Just think! One might invest or loan Simone Leviato a Q late at interest, and hurry on ahead. Tom discover society say the erect don't strict like unistic bases. Oh, fall through those extravagant theories! Began Hepsichol. Oh, just. Yes, so it seemed to me, and so I never talked of it until experimental verification. Cried I. You are going to verify that? The experiment? Cried Bilby, who was getting brain weary. Let's see your experiment anyhow, said the psychologist, though it's all humbug, you know. The time traveler smiled round at us. Then, still smelling faintly, and with his hands deep in his trousers pockets, he walked slowly out of the room and heard a slipper shuffling down the long passage to his laboratory. The psychologist looked at us. I wonder what is GOT. Some sillet of Hanterkaroter, said the medical man, and Philby tried to tell us about a conjure he had seen at Burslem, but before had finished preface the time traveler came back, and Philby's anecdote collapsed. The thing the time traveler held a shandway tearing metallic framework scarcely larger than a small clock, and very delicately made. There was ivory in it, and some transparent crystalline substance. And now I must be explicit, for this follows unless his explanation is to be accepted as an absolutely unaccountable thing. He took one of the small octagonal tables that were scattered about the room, and set it in front of the fire, with two legs on the hearthrug. On this table he placed a mechanism. Then he drew a chair and sat down. The enlithophilic object and tableway saw a small shaded lamp, their bright light which fell upon the model. There were also perhaps a dozen candles about, 2 brass candlesticks upon the mantel, and the ratlins consist so that the room was brilliantly illuminated. I sat in a low armchair nearest the fire, and I drew this forward so stood almost between Pettima Traveler and fireplace. Philby sat behind him, looking over his shoulder. The medical man and the provincial mayor watched him in profile from to right, the psychologist from to left. The very young man stood behind the psychologist. We were all on the alert. It appears incredible to me that any kind of trick, however subtly conceived and however adroitly done, could have been played upon us under these conditions. The time traveler looked at us, and then at the mechanism. Well, said the psychologist. This little affair, said the time traveler, still both upon the table and pressing his hands together above the apparatus, is only a model. It is my plan for a machine to travel through time. You will notice that it looks singularly askew, and that there is an odd twinkling appearance about this are asked how the twain in some way unreal. He pointed to the part with his finger. Also, here is one little white lever, and here is another. The medical mango to out of his errand to the thing. It's beautifully made, he said. It took 2 years to make, retorted the time traveler. Then, when we had all imitated the action of the medical man, he said, now I want you clearly to understand that this lever, being pressed over, sends the machine gliding into the future, and this other reverses the motion. This sadly represents the Zeatophagoma traveler. Presently I am going to press telefer on Dolph the machine will go. It will vanish, pass into future time, and disappear. Have a good look at the thing. Look at the table too, and satisfy yourself as a notaker. I didn't want to waste this model, and then be told I'm a quack. There was a minute's pause perhaps. The psychologist seemed about to speak to me, but changed his mind. Then the time traveler put forth his finger towards the lever. No, he said suddenly. Lend me our hand. And turning to the psychologist, he took that individual's hand in his own and told him to put out this forever. So Kate Twainst had psychologist himself who sent forth the model time machine on its interminable voyage. We all saw the lever turn. I am absolutely certain there was no trickery. There was a breath of wind, and the lamp flame jumped. One of the candles in the mantel was blown out, and the little machine suddenly swung round, became indistinct, was seen as a ghost for a second perhaps, as an eddy of faintly glittering brass and ivory, and it washed and vanished! Save for the lamp. Table was bare. Everyone was silent for Ramanu. Then Philby said was damned. The psychologist recovered from mist stubborn and sudden. Look at understandable. The traveler laughed cheerfully. Well, he said, with a reminiscence of the PSCE psychologist. Then getting up humanity tobacco garoned mantle, and with his back to us began to fill his pipe. We stared at each other. Look here, said the medical man, are you in earnest about this? Do you seriously believe that the machine has traveled into time? Certainly, said the time traveler, stooping to light a spilothy fire. Then he turned light his pipe to look at the psychologist's face. The psychologist, to show that he was not unhinged, helped himself to a cigar and tried to light it uncut. What is more, I have a big machine nearly finished in there. He indicated the laboratory, and when it is put together written of the journey on my Nazi count. Human to say that can have traveling into the future, said Philby. Into the future or the past I don't, for certain, know which. After an interval the psychologist had an inspiration. It must have gone into the past if it has gone anywhere, he said. Why? Said the timid traveler. Because I presume if 80 has not there moved in space, and if I traveling into the future it would still be here out this time, since it must have traveled through this time. But, I said, if it traveled into the past it would have been visible when we came first into this room, and last Thursday when we were here, and that year's day before that, and so forth. Serious objections, remarked the provincial mayor, with an air of impartiality, turning towards the time traveler. Not a bit, said the time traveler, and, to the psychologist, you think you can explain that? It's presentation below the threshold, you know, diluted presentation. Of course, said the psychologist, and reassured us. That's a simple point or psychology. Assured without it. Explain enough and helps to have paradox delightfully. We cannot see it nor can appreciate this machine any more than we can the spoke of a wheel spinning there, a bullet fleeing through the air. If it is traveling through time 50 times or 100 times faster than we are, if it gets through a minimum, you will lose a second impression it creates will of course be in light on 50th or 100th of what it would make if it were not traveling in time. That's plain enough. He passed and thrust a space in which machine had been. You see, he said, laughing. We sat and stared at the vacant table for a minute or so. Then the timid traveler skadooshwat without a fiddle. It sounds plausible enough tonight, said the medical man. Between till tomorrow. Wait for the common sense of that morning. Would I like to see Anthony McKinney? Asked the time traveler. And therewith, taking the lamp in his hand, he led the way down a long, drafty corridor to his laboratory. I remember vividly the flickering light, his queer, broad head in silhouette, the dance of the shadows, how we'll follow Wedham puzzled but incredulous, and how there in the laboratory would held a large edition of the little mechanism which we had seen vanish from before our eyes. Parts were nickel, parts of a furry, parts had certainly been filed or sawn out of rock crystal. The thing was generally complete, but the twisted crystalline barbs lay unfinished upon the bench beside some sheets of drawings, and I took one up for a better look at it. Quartz it seemed to be. Looker, said the medical man, very you perfectly right used. Or is this a trick like the ghost you showed us last Christmas? Upon the machine, said the time traveler, holding the lamp aloft. I intend to explore time. Is that a plain question? I was never more serious in my life. Not Neil Fusquet knew how to take it. I caught Philby's eye over the shoulder of the medical man, and he winked at me solemnly.